here's one that I watched last night, is Cabin Fever. Terror in the Flesh. I just noticed this. Look, it's like a skull, eh? Ooh. Cabin Fever is a movie that surprised me. I had seen this before back in the day. It's from 2002. But I always had this one mixed up with Wrong Turn. And when I went to watch this movie last night, I was going into it thinking that it was that other movie. Now, Wrong Turn is a movie about people that go out into the boonies and they get attacked by psychotic rednecks or whatever, country folk. But this is not that movie. It's not a slasher movie. It's not a supernatural ghost movie. Cabin Fever is a movie about 5 teenagers that go into the woods, rent a cabin in the woods. Basically, they contract a serious disease. And this whole movie is really just an outbreak of this deadly disease of some kind of plague or something. The story was written by, and it was produced and directed by Eli Roth, who actually even appears in the movie as a random kind of like drifter character. So I think it's a competently made movie. There's nothing supernatural going on here. There's no slasher thing going on here, even though you have your typical setup with your 5 teenagers in a cabin in the woods. You'd think, Friday the 13th or Evil Dead's going to break out any second here. They rent this cabin so they can party for the weekend. There's 2 couples and 1 guy on his own. They're basically there just to mess around and have sex and drink beer and just party or whatever for the weekend. The one guy, the guy that's on his own, he's out in the woods and he's shooting squirrels or whatever and drinking beer and all that and having a good old time and whatever, just on his own, just chilling in nature. And then he comes across this hermit. Now this hermit that lives in the woods, the guy's like, I'm sick, you gotta help me, but he's kind of aggressive, and so the guy gets freaked out and he accidentally maybe not accidentally, but he just gets really freaked out and he shoots the guy. So and he just runs away and he leaves him there, and he doesn't tell any of the other people that he's in the cabin with what happened. Later on, in the middle of the night, that guy comes back to their cabin and meets them at the door, and what happens is he tries to get away in their vehicle, but he's all sick, and he's got this horrible disease, and he's puking up blood everywhere, and there isn't killings that kind of gore in it, but there's people getting sick and they get this disease and they puke up blood. And anyway, so this guy gets in their vehicle and they try and chase him out of there, and it's they threaten him with a gun and a bat and stuff, and they eventually get the guy out of there, but somehow in the scuffle, the guy gets set on fire and runs into the woods. And they're like, oh my god, we killed this guy, what's happening? And and it just gets crazy and chaotic from there as more and more of our characters contract this disease. There's some really gross scenes, when the one couple is trying to get it on or whatever, and the guy's reaching under. I mean, there's a lot of, there's some nudity and some sex in this movie, but it's kind of ruined when this guy wants to he puts his hand under the covers and he's they're getting it on, and he pulls his hand up and there's blood all over his hand, and she's bleeding out of these sores and things on her leg, and and she's got this disease, and he's like, oh my god, and she's super, super sick, and they're worried she's gonna be contagious, so they have to lock her in a shed or something like that. But it's not it didn't go the way I thought it was going to. They didn't turn into zombies. They didn't attack each other or anything like that. Well, they did attack each other, but it was because they knew they had this disease and they were going to die, and it's just out of desperation. And it's more, this could really happen. I guess you get to see the darker side of humanity in here, but it's mostly just a kind of a gore fest, people puking up blood and with horrible disease injuries and stuff like that, and a few people get shot, and one girl gets bludgeoned to death. The actors are all pretty good in here. I don't know any of their names, and I didn't remember seeing any of them in anything else. But they all do a pretty good job. They're, convincing enough, because they're just supposed to be douchey teenagers or whatever. And they certainly are that. And Then there's the butcher lady that's like cutting up pigs or whatever, and they go to tell her that hey, some crazy shit just happened a while ago, and we met this like drifter. He's like, oh hey, that's my cousin. Have you seen him? How's he doing? And they're like, he's okay. Meanwhile, they're thinking, well, we set him on fire and he ran into the woods. I don't think he's gonna be okay. But they don't say that because they're the lady's holding a meat cleaver and cutting up pigs, and you know, what are they going to tell her? Hey, we just killed your cousin. Backpedal out of there. Oh, it's okay. Thanks very much. See you later. And they run away. At one point, they do contact like the local deputy who rides out to the cabin on his bike. He's kind of a weird dude, and he's just kind of wants to hang out and party with these guys and stuff. And yeah, he takes their police report and everything, and he says, yeah, we're going to send a tow truck, if you can't get your vehicle going or whatever, we're going to send a tow truck out here and we're going to help you out. And yeah, don't worry about it, man, don't worry about it. And the guy's like, I don't know, I just found this guy hilarious, this deputy. Yeah, then there's the kid at the general store that sits on the bench and he like bites people. Very early in the movie, one of the characters goes to sit on the bench with him, and the kid like attacks him and bites him, and the dad comes out or whatever, and he's like, don't you know you're not supposed to sit next to Zeke or whatever his name is? And the guy's like, well, maybe you should put up a sign or something. But yeah, overall Cabin Fever, I think, like I said, it's not the movie I thought it was going to be. And I always enjoy movies that kind of surprise me a little in a way. And like I said, I'd seen this before, but I totally forgot about it. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. Like I said, all the actors are not bad. The story's pretty good, and it's goofy, and like in parts there's stupid things that happen, but this movie could totally happen. Eli Roth did a really good job on Cabin Fever. I'm going to give Cabin Fever a B. The psychological horror aspect of it is pretty good, and it's not a lot of jump scares, but there are some kind of scary moments. So if you want to watch a, I guess, different kind of horror movie, one that doesn't involve vampires or zombies or Freddy or Jason or established horror property, this is a good, just random horror movie to watch. I think it does its job. Gives you that creepy sense. You get to see some people die in horrible ways. And I guess that's really what we all look for in our horror entertainment. So if you've never seen it before, I think Cabin Fever is worth a watch. So until next time, stay safe. Have a good one out there, everybody.